Well, my parents did the unthinkable. They tried to corner me into an arranged marriage. Don't miss out on the fun. Hit subscribe button and join our community for more stories like this one. I'm 25, female. I've read stories on this sub and empathized with different situations, but one boundary I thought my parents would never cross is an arranged marriage. My whole life was spent giving up hobbies and changing parts of myself my parents hated. They care a lot about what will others think. So much so that I don't even have active social media anymore, just to avoid getting judged by different family members. They are all allowed to post their vacation pictures and celebrate their birthdays and graduations publicly. Just not me, because they will judge me and gossip about how stupid/spoiled/unfocused/unambitious/frivolous my life is. I cannot get over how moronic their logic is. My entire family basically has been gossiping about me before I even do anything bad, so I will always be miserable and can never do anything in the fear of being labeled as bad. It's actually insane now that I've woken up to the fact that our culture is basically unhealthy emotional attachments and control mechanisms. My entire extended family has this weird enmeshed behavior toward me. I guess it's because I'm westernized and beautiful. Therefore I'm inherently slutty and need to be controlled more. My cousins all had their fair share of partying and dating in India before they settled down, cleaned up their image, and got arranged marriages. Most of them are married just to be with someone who has a US visa. While I'm actually a US citizen and wasn't allowed to go to a single dance, had to quit cheer because the outfits were inappropriate, and had to do engineering because following my passion for teaching would lead down a wayward path. Of course, my limited social circle and my family's emphasis on grades basically made me a robot. Essentially, no one ever cared about my opinions, feelings, or interests until I moved out for college. Things got better as I got older and I was able to be more independent. I gave myself the experiences I missed. I moved back in with my parents despite having a job and salary because of culture. My mom started acting like all she ever wanted was to live in her dream home as one big happy family, and she was so sad that she could never provide that when I was growing up. She blamed my childhood and upbringing on the struggles of immigrating. She wanted me to live at home so I could help my siblings and bond more. I would give my own room, bathroom, car, privacy. I actually fell for this. Living at home, I have been dumped multiple times for not being able to sleep over at my boyfriend's houses, not being able to be open on social media about the relationship, and not being able to meet my parents before we got engaged, despite being in committed, loving relationships. Each time I just worked on getting over the breakup by making excuses for my family. I was still young, I wasn't ready for marriage anyway. The right guy wouldn't care if I couldn't spend the night. I could always drive home after sex. My culture is important, I love my family, etc. Well, right after the most recent breakup, and right before my 26th birthday, when I would officially become a leftover woman, my parents orchestrated an entire facade to corner me into a room without a way to leave, so I would be forced to speak to a 31-year-old doctor from Ivy League that had gotten my information. They claim they never gave him my picture or info, but they had a picture of him to show me, so clearly, they planned this out and exchanged info. I cried as soon as I looked at him. He wasn't handsome. His attitude scared me too. He was calling my mom's phone nonstop, while I was crying and begging them not to make me talk or go out with him. My dad started telling me I was getting too old to have children at 25. My mom told me I could never live life and travel or vacation like my cousins if I didn't have a husband. My mom has a PhD in chemistry. I never thought she really thought like this about other women. But here she was, telling me if I didn't get married to a strange doctor, I would only be getting uglier and older prospects from now on. I finally told them I would get a coffee with him once, but nothing more. Just to make it all stop. Then my mom turned it all around on me, and said I had a bad spirit, and I was ruining this man's life. A man I never met. A man she did not even know. I was only agreeing to one date, ruining the life of a man in his 30s. My own mother was playing defense for a man that was not even in the room, forcing her firstborn into a relationship with him. She started really scaring me when she ranted about divorces and how they were absolutely unacceptable in the family. So I had to marry a rando, and also I didn't even have the option of leaving. How the fuck does that make sense? This is all because my bitchy aunt is gossiping about how I'm unmarried to all her cousins in a third world country. Instead of ignoring a 60-year-old diabetic Grinch, in a time zone 12 hours apart, my parents thought it would be best to push me off to a man and mentally abuse me until I agreed to it. I knew as soon as my cousin posted her vacation photos, my mom would whip herself up into a jealous frenzy, and here we are. Meanwhile, none of my athletic or academic accomplishments, hobbies, or jobs can be talked about on social media because it'll look like I'm bragging. So I can't even brag, I just have to be forced to listen to other people brag about themselves and then change my whole life to fall in line with their expectations of success. The irony is, until this point, I was the stereotypical Asian good girl, and even that wasn't enough. After that night I made plans to move out, and my parents are on massive damage control. They keep talking about how they themselves were abused by this man's family because of how pushy they were to meet me. They are trying to acquiesce me into staying, but I can't even look at them anymore. They are rewriting what happened as them just trying to console a nervous girl talking to her first marriage prospect, but that is not what actually happened. I've just stopped even looking at them because I refuse to forget about this or be gaslighted. They've been apologizing non-stop and trying to plan a birthday party. Why the fuck would I want them to celebrate my 26th birthday? After hearing about how I'm not going to be able to have kids from my own father's mouth. I'm so sick and disgusted by the way Asian culture is being twisted and abused into ruining people's lives. Luckily I have the resources to stand up for myself, and it didn't end in actual forced marriage. But I came close to it, and I feel so sick. Comments.
I just want to say, 26 is so young. Get out from underneath your family and never go back. I have a sneaking suspicion you're going to do so good on your own again. This is horrible. Girl, you gotta separate. Like, now.
Reading about this infuriates me. I'm too becoming 26 this year. My culture doesn't have arranged marriage, but my parents, extended family, neighbors and acquaintances have been blabbering non-stop about my marriage status. There are so many times I held myself back from swearing and insulting them for telling me how I should live my life. If I were in your situation, I would fucking lose it and destroy every relationship I have left with these people.
Please don't just make plans. Run. Run as far and as fast as you can. This is sick and disgusting. Get your important documents/electronics together and run. Cut them off. Don't talk to them at all. Write down everything that happened once you're safe.
Arranged marriages are usually bad for the woman. It's almost always some way older man who can't find his own wife without forcing a younger woman to marry him. Good for you for sticking up for yourself.
I was borderline gagging reading this. Like, to what extent of disgusting can you go before you finally notice yourself being such a disgusting person? Well, at least, you're winning. I have given up entirely. My parents made sure I couldn't be independent cause they knew the minute I got financially independent, I would leave. I'll probably be married to someone who would curb several of my personality traits.
Just avoid this relationship at all cost, because your parents won't support you if you start a relationship and argument happens. The worst scenario is domestic violence, which I believe your parents will also not support you and ask you to maintain this relationship at all cost.
Subscribe and hit the bell button for the best Reddit stories available.